On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Frank Sinatra, the iconic American singer, actor, and cultural figure, died of a heart attack on May 14, 1998, at the age of 82 in Los Angeles. His death was natural, the culmination of years of declining health, including heart and breathing problems. Yet, his passing reverberated far beyond the walls of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. It signaled not just the end of a life, but the end of a grand American chapter, one where charisma, resilience, and reinvention defined the public and private persona of a man who helped shape 20th century entertainment. Sinatra rose from humble beginnings in Hoboken, New Jersey, to become Old Blue Eyes, a towering figure in American pop culture. His career spanned over 5 decades, intersecting with critical moments in history: World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, the rise of television, and the golden age of Hollywood. In life, he embodied the American dream, a son of immigrants who climbed the ladder through talent and ambition. In death, he symbolized the fading glamour and mystery of a bygone era where celebrity was both curated and commanding. The immediate consequences of his passing were seen in the national and international tributes that poured in. Flags were flown at half-mast in Las Vegas, and entertainers of all generations reflected on his influence. Sinatra's death unified generations in remembrance, underscoring his rare ability to remain relevant across changing musical landscapes, from the swing era to the Rat Pack days, to his later, more introspective albums. His passing also reignited public discussion about the changing nature of fame. Sinatra belonged to an era where privacy was protected and mystique cultivated. Today's celebrities live under constant scrutiny, and Sinatra's carefully controlled image reminded many of a time when artistry and aura went hand in hand. His complex relationships with power, his alleged ties to organized crime, his friendship with politicians like John F. Kennedy added layers of intrigue that still spark debate. We immortalize Sinatra not only through his music, which remains timeless, but through endless references in film, literature, and even fashion. His voice, full of longing and bravado, serves as a bridge across generations. Sinatra's death reminds us that cultural icons never fully disappear. Their influence echoes in every note, every line, every tribute that dares to chase perfection the way he once did. Rita Hayworth, one of the most luminous stars of Hollywood's golden age, died on May 14, 1987, at the age of 68. Her death was the result of complications from Alzheimer's disease, a condition not widely understood at the time. In fact, Hayworth's diagnosis had initially been mistaken for alcoholism due to the confusion and memory loss she exhibited. Her decline shed light on a misunderstood illness and helped to shift public perception, as her daughter, Princess Yasmin Aga Khan, became an advocate for Alzheimer's awareness following her mother's death. In many ways, Hayworth's passing reflected both the glamour and tragedy of her era. She was a symbol of post-war American sensuality, most famously as the titular character in Gilda. Yet her private life was marked by instability, broken marriages, and a constant tug-of-war between her public image and personal reality. Her death quietly underscored how Hollywood often discarded its icons once they no longer fit its idealized mold. At the time, the entertainment industry was beginning to reckon with its history of mistreating women, and Hayworth's long, painful decline offered a somber metaphor for the forgotten stars who helped build the system. The immediate impact of her death was both intimate and cultural. Tributes poured in from around the world, especially from those within the film community who recognized her immense influence on cinematic style and female representation. However, more significantly, her death marked a turning point in the fight against Alzheimer's. Hayworth became the face of a disease that had long been spoken about in hushed tones. The Rita Hayworth Galas, launched by her daughter, raised millions for research and helped bring the illness to the forefront of public health discussions. Rita Hayworth's legacy has been immortalized not just through her films, but through the way her story has been told in biographies, documentaries, and even in pop culture references. Her image, voluptuous, red-haired, caught in the soft light of black and white glamour, remains iconic. Yet behind that image was a woman struggling with identity, memory, and agency, reminding us that legends are often human first. Her death compels us to consider how society venerates beauty and fame, yet often neglects the person behind the persona. Through remembrance, advocacy, and the enduring power of cinema, Rita Hayworth's legacy continues to echo long after the final reel. B.B. King, born Riley. B. King passed away on May 14, 2015 at the age of 89 from complications related to vascular dementia and type 2 diabetes. His death, while natural, marked the end of an era in American music history, a period shaped by the blues, which King helped bring from the cotton fields of Mississippi to the grandest concert halls of the world. The nature of his passing, peaceful yet burdened by chronic illness, mirrored the lifelong struggles of a man who gave voice to pain, love, and endurance through music. King's death highlighted the resilience of African American artists who, like him, overcame systemic racism, poverty, and exploitation in the entertainment industry. As a black man born in the Jim Crow South, King faced immense barriers, including segregation and unequal pay, yet he emerged as a global ambassador for the blues. His guitar, Lucille, became as iconic as his velvet voice and expressive vibrato. His death was mourned worldwide, not just by fans of blues, but by artists across genres who credited him as a pioneer and influence. The immediate consequence of King's death was an outpouring of tributes from music legends and heads of state alike. President Barack Obama remarked that the blues has lost its king and America has lost a legend. Cities such as Memphis and Indianola, where King lived and was laid to rest, held public memorials. More than a farewell, these commemorations were affirmations of the cultural weight King carried. As a musician, a bridge between races, and a chronicler of emotional truth. In death, B.B. King's legend only grew. His life story, rising from a sharecropper's cabin to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, embodied the American dream filtered through the bittersweet lens of the blues. He is remembered in statues, documentaries, and the B.B. King Museum, which educates visitors about his legacy and the broader history of the Delta blues. Ultimately, King's passing reflects humanity's deep connection to expressive art as a means of coping with struggle. We immortalize such figures because they speak universal truths about longing, resilience, and joy in the face of adversity. B.B. King didn't just play the blues, he lived them, and in doing so, helped the world understand them. Phyllis George, a trailblazer in both the pageant world and sports broadcasting, died on May 14, 2020, at the age of 70 from complications related to a rare blood disorder she had battled for decades. Her death, though natural, underscored the resilience required of women breaking into male-dominated spaces during the 1970s and 1980s. A former Miss America turned sportscaster and First Lady of Kentucky, George's varied career reflected a transitional period in American culture, one that slowly began to accept women in roles previously reserved for men. As one of the first women to work in national sports broadcasting, Phyllis George joined CBS's The NFL Today, in 1975. Her warm, conversational interviewing style was groundbreaking at the time, providing a contrast to the typically macho tone of sports journalism. However, she also faced harsh criticism and scrutiny, often focused more on her looks than her abilities, highlighting the cultural biases of the era. Her ability to persevere and thrive in that environment made her an enduring symbol of professional courage and charm. The immediate response to her passing was marked by tributes from across the sports, political, and broadcasting communities. Colleagues recalled her as a pioneer who opened doors for generations of women in media. For many, her death was a reminder of how far society had come in terms of gender equality, and how much further it still has to go. Phyllis George's legacy has been cemented in both media history and American cultural memory. Her influence can be seen today in the presence of women who now anchor major sports shows, report from the sidelines, and command respect in boardrooms. In her political role as Kentucky's First Lady, she also promoted the arts and entrepreneurship, adding further depth to her public service. Her death prompts reflection on how society remembers its pioneers. In George's case, commemoration comes not only through articles and tributes, but through the careers of women she inspired. She is remembered as someone who used her platform to challenge expectations and foster inclusion. Phyllis George's story reminds us that power is not always loud or confrontational. It can also be found in grace, persistence, and the quiet breaking of barriers. In remembering her, we celebrate the progress she helped ignite and the courage it took to lead the way. Robert Stack, the deep-voiced actor synonymous with authoritative roles and the chilling narration of Unsolved Mysteries, died on May 14, 2003, at the age of 84 from heart failure. His death was natural and largely expected given his age and declining health, yet it marked the end of a certain era in American television, one shaped by gravitas, trust, and the allure of mystery. Stack rose to prominence in the 1950s and 60s, especially with his role as Elliot Ness in The Untouchables, a role that captured the mid-century American obsession with law, order, and moral clarity. His portrayal reflected Cold War-era values, where good and evil were seen in stark contrast. Later, his role as the host of Unsolved Mysteries from 1987 to 2002 took on a more nuanced cultural tone. It coincided with a growing national interest in true crime, the paranormal, and conspiracy, interests that often expressed both a deep-seated trust in institutions and a fear of what they could miss or conceal. His passing didn't send cultural shockwaves, but it did evoke a powerful nostalgia. Fans and media figures alike remembered Stack as a calm but commanding presence, a voice of reason in times of fear. The producers of Unsolved Mysteries paid tribute to his iconic role, recognizing that his steady demeanor was a vital part of the show's appeal. In a world increasingly filled with rapid media and fleeting celebrity, Stack's consistent image of reliability became part of his legacy. Robert Stack's death, though not tragic, illuminates the way we mourn not only individuals, but the values they represent. His long-standing career intersected with moments of national fear and fascination: Prohibition, the Cold War, the rise of investigative television, and his roles became a lens through which America viewed itself. In reflecting on his legacy, we see how memory and mortality intertwine with media. Stack is immortalized through reruns, documentaries, and internet memes, a reminder of how the digital age can keep a persona alive far beyond the lifespan of the actor. More than just a performer, Robert Stack became a cultural anchor, proof that sometimes a steady voice and an unwavering stare can leave a more lasting mark on history than even the most dramatic of exits. Andrew Symonds, the charismatic Australian cricketer known for his explosive batting and larger-than-life personality, died tragically on May 14, 2022, in a single-vehicle car crash near Townsville, Queensland. He was 46 years old. The accident shocked the sporting world, particularly as it followed the recent and unexpected deaths of other Australian cricket legends like Shane Warne and Rod Marsh. Simons's death was accidental, yet it seemed to carry the weight of a broader narrative, one about the fragility of life, the cult of sporting heroes, and the public's deep emotional connection to its athletes. Simons, nicknamed Roy, symbolized a golden era of Australian cricket. His style, aggressive, fearless, and unorthodox, reflected the confident swagger of early 2000s Australia, a nation reveling in global sporting dominance. Off the field, he was equally captivating, often blurring the line between professionalism and rebellion. His infamous confrontation with discipline, including his fallout with Cricket Australia over off-field behavior, mirrored tensions in modern sports culture. The push-pull between individuality and institutional expectation. The immediate consequence of his passing was a collective mourning not just from Australia, but from the international cricket community. Tributes poured in, not only lauding his athletic feats, but celebrating his authenticity. Simons represented the everyman who made it big, talented, flawed, and unapologetically himself. His death prompted renewed discussions about the pressures faced by elite athletes, especially post-retirement, a period often filled with personal struggle and public invisibility. Simons' legacy, however, only grew in death. His image, dreadlocks flying as he launched a six over the boundary or tackled a pitch invader mid-match, remains etched in cricketing folklore. Statues, social media memorials, and video tributes help preserve his memory, showcasing how modern platforms now play a central role in commemorating fallen public figures. Reflecting on Simons' death brings into focus humanity's yearning to preserve what is fleeting: youth, glory, and identity. While ancient cultures built monuments to gods and warriors, today we immortalize athletes like Simons through highlight reels, documentaries, and community-driven remembrance. His story reminds us that mortality spares no one, yet memory, carefully nurtured through media and cultural storytelling, can make legends eternal. In remembering Simons, we honor not just a cricketer, but a human story of triumph, imperfection, and legacy. Powers Booth, the gravel-voiced actor known for his commanding screen presence and ability to embody morally complex characters, died on May 14, 2017, at the age of 68. His death, attributed to natural causes, specifically cardiopulmonary arrest linked to pancreatic cancer, marked the quiet end of a performer whose work often explored the darker corridors of American power and ambition. In a career that spanned decades, Booth left an indelible impression on stage and screen, earning both critical acclaim and a loyal following. Booth rose to prominence with his Emmy-winning portrayal of cult leader Jim Jones in Guyana Tragedy, The Story of Jim Jones. It was a role that demanded both psychological depth and moral ambiguity, qualities that became hallmarks of his career. In the years that followed, he carved out a niche playing villains and anti-heroes in projects like Deadwood, Tombstone, Sin City, and Nixon. His death came at a time when America was once again grappling with questions of leadership, corruption, and identity, topics often mirrored in the roles he chose. While Booth's passing did not cause seismic cultural ripples, it was felt deeply in the acting community and among fans of his genre-defining performances. His death served as a moment to reflect on the fading generation of character actors who brought complexity and gravity to supporting roles. It highlighted the challenges of an industry increasingly focused on celebrity over craft and reminded audiences of the enduring value of nuanced storytelling. The consequences of Booth's passing were subtle but poignant. Tributes from fellow actors, directors, and fans underscored the respect he garnered throughout his career. His roles, particularly in period dramas and neo-noir films, continue to resonate, reinforcing the idea that some performances gain even more depth in hindsight. Booth's death underscores the enduring human fascination with power, mortality, and memory. While he often played men corrupted by influence or struggling with inner demons, in doing so, he forced audiences to confront those same dynamics in society and within themselves. We remember Powers Booth not through grand monuments, but through the chilling elegance of his voice, the weight of his gaze, and the unforgettable moral ambiguity of his characters. In the end, we immortalize such figures not only for who they were, but for what they helped us see in ourselves. Dave DeBucher, a towering figure in professional basketball and a symbol of grit and versatility, died suddenly of a heart attack on May 14, 2003, at the age of 62. Collapsing on a Manhattan street near his office, DeBucher's death was a stark reminder of life's unpredictability, even for those who once seemed invincible in the arena of sport. His passing not only stunned the basketball world, but also served as a reflective moment on an era defined by physical toughness, loyalty, and a deep respect for team play. DeBucher's legacy was forged during the golden years of the NBA in the 1960s and 1970s, where he became a defining component of the New York Knicks championship teams in 1970 and 1973. A defensive stalwart, he earned 8 NBA All-Star selections and was a key architect of the Knicks' disciplined, selfless style of play. His death came at a time when the NBA was evolving into a global entertainment spectacle, a sharp contrast to the league DeBucher had known, which emphasized fundamentals and blue-collar effort. The immediate impact of his death was profound within the basketball community. Former teammates and rivals mourned not just the player, but the man, humble, intelligent, and devoted to the game. DeBucher had also served as the NBA's youngest coach, a commissioner of the ABA, and was instrumental in building the 1992 Olympic Dream Team as the league's director of basketball operations. His influence extended beyond the court, shaping policy and talent that would define modern basketball. His sudden departure deepened his legend, casting him not just as a player of his time, but as a bridge between basketball's rugged past and its polished present. In reflecting on his death, the contrast between eras becomes clear. DeBucher symbolized a time when athletes were less brand and more backbone, revered for sacrifice over showmanship. In the realm of memory and legacy, DeBucher is immortalized through his 1983 Hall of Fame induction, the retirement of his Knicks jersey, and the enduring respect of fans and historians. His life and death remind us that greatness is not just measured by statistics, but by integrity and impact. In honoring figures like him, we preserve more than memory. We reaffirm the values that elevate sport to something transcendent. Hugh Bumont, best known for his role as the calm and compassionate father Ward Cleaver on the classic television series Leave It to Beaver, died of a heart attack on May 14, 1982, at the age of 72. His death, while natural, marked the quiet end of a man who had come to embody the idealized American patriarch during a period of profound cultural transformation. Beaumont passed away while visiting family in Munich, Germany, far from the suburban settings he portrayed so convincingly on screen. Beaumont's death reflected the values and contrasts of his era. As a central figure in a show that aired during the late 1950s and early 1960s, he helped project an image of post-war domestic stability, a father who dispensed wisdom, moral clarity, and emotional steadiness. This character stood in stark contrast to the turbulent social changes of the 1960s, which challenged traditional roles and questioned the facade of the American dream. Beaumont, a Methodist minister in real life, found himself both a participant in and a symbol of the tension between television's sanitized family ideals and the complex realities of modern life. The immediate consequences of his passing were subdued, much like the man himself. While not marked by national mourning, Bumont's death prompted waves of nostalgia and reflection. Fans and critics revisited Leave It to Beaver not just as entertainment, but as a cultural artifact, an emblem of a time when television sought to teach as much as to amuse. His portrayal of Ward Cleaver became even more revered, his quiet dignity resonating in an age growing weary of cynicism and fractured family dynamics. In death, Bumont's legacy was amplified not by tragedy, but by timelessness. His character endures as a touchstone for what many perceive as a lost era of parental involvement and moral guidance. Through reruns, books on television history, and retrospectives on classic Americana, Bumont has been immortalized in the collective consciousness as more than an actor. He became an archetype. Ultimately, Hugh Bumont's death reminds us how actors and their roles can become inseparable, shaping cultural expectations and offering comfort across generations. In our commemoration of figures like Bumont, we reveal a longing for stability and virtue, and how memory itself can enshrine both the man and the myth in equal measure. Louis XIII of France, often overshadowed by his more flamboyant father, Henry IV, and his legendary son, Louis XIV, died on May 14, 1643, from complications of Crohn's disease, an ailment poorly understood at the time. His death was natural, though drawn out and painful, emblematic of an era where even monarchs were not immune to the limitations of early modern medicine. Despite his royal status, Louis endured physical suffering that undermined his authority and left France in a precarious political state. Ascending to the throne at the tender age of 9 following his father's assassination, Louis XIII's reign was marked by internal strife and the slow centralization of power. His partnership with Cardinal Richelieu helped curtail the influence of the nobility and reinforce the absolute monarchy, but it also bred resentment and political tension. When Louis died at age 41, France was still embroiled in the 30 Years' War and facing religious divisions and aristocratic unrest. His passing created uncertainty, especially with his heir, Louis XIV, just 5 years old. This led to the regency of Queen Anne of Austria, who would govern with Cardinal Mazarin, an alliance that sparked further noble revolts during the Fronde uprisings. Though Louis XIII was not a charismatic ruler, his death marked a turning point in French history. It cleared the path for the rise of Louis XIV, the Sun King, whose reign would redefine monarchy in Europe. Thus, while his life may not have stirred the mythic aura of other sovereigns, his death indirectly catalyzed a dramatic shift in the structure of royal power. His subdued personality and suffering also highlighted a growing divergence between the divine image of kingship and the human frailty of those who held the crown. In remembering Louis XIII, historians often focus on his contributions to statecraft, supporting the arts, strengthening the military, and planting the seeds of absolutism. Though he may lack the romantic tragedy of a Cleopatra or the martyrdom of a Joan of Arc, his legacy endures in the institutions he helped shape. His death reminds us that power, however divine in theory, is still bound by the fragile reality of the human condition. Through portraits, literature, and the dramatic retellings of court intrigue, we continue to commemorate him, not as a towering hero, but as a vital chapter in the evolution of monarchy and memory.